defending the free market, and making the moral case for capitalism. The Justin Moore Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Justin Moore Show, where we make sense of what's going on in this crazy, insane, out of control world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please forgive me here. As I'm recording this, I tweaked some little settings on my mic because I went back and I had to kind of listen to how my show sounds via headphones, and I hate the sort of muffled sort of sound it has, a little bit of an echo. So I'm trying a little different placement of the mic. I adjusted a slight setting here and there, as I want a crisper sound. That's what I'm going for because it's annoying as hell. So I'm hopefully getting that right here, maybe. And if I totally butchered it, if this thing sounds like I'm speaking in a freaking cave, I'm sorry, because I don't know if I want to redo this, okay? But I was testing some mic things, and I think it will be okay. At least it won't be unbearable. I hope it's better. But anyway, guys, so much to get to. And obviously, Federal Reserve raising interest rates, which a lot of people, especially, the libertarian types out there, were caught off guard with this. But we will get to that. But first, I want to get to a few things. I recently listened to an interview that Jason Stapleton did on his show with Dan Carlin. Now, Dan Carlin, he's the guy, he does like the hardcore history and common sense, which a hardcore history, I think I'm still trying to get through is World War I. I think I've listened to like one of them, and that was like 2 years ago, so I'm well behind. I've listened to a few of his episodes on common sense. I don't know, Dan Carlin seems like a good guy. He does. Obviously, listening to the interview, there's some things he says, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. But you can tell he's a thinking man. And during the interview, he's talking a lot about his process, what he goes through to prepare for a show. His little episodes he does, talking about World War I, those things are hours long. It's crazy. And what he has to go through to basically produce a show like that. And there was a few things he said that really stuck out to me. I guess for one, it's definitely something I can relate to, where he's kind of just talking, speaking off the cuff. People like that sort of spontaneous sound. And you guys might have noticed there's been a slight change with my show, especially, probably the last 10 episodes, at least all the episodes for sure in 2017, probably end of 2016. Kind of the way I did the show before, just to kind of give you guys a behind the scenes of what goes on here at the Justin Moore Show. What I would do before with the show is I'd kind of have just like a really brief outline. I'd kind of, have the bits from the article that I want to use. And then underneath that one little paragraph, I might have a few bullet points. Okay, Justin, make sure you hit these points referring to this paragraph that you read. So I really kind of had it broke down like that. So obviously it wasn't a script, but I wanted to always have bullet points, so I didn't want to miss those points. Well, now, when I started doing this show, I wanted to make it a lot more spontaneous. So really what I've been doing, it's literally off the cuff, almost completely. What I've done, instead of like really nailing down the exact sentences I want to read, hell, sometimes I'll just throw up the whole freaking article. Other times I'll just have a paragraph, but I don't really want everything in that paragraph. So I just got to shift through it, on the go here. And I don't put any bullet points anymore. So really all I have in front of me is just a few paragraphs maybe from an article or two that I want to get to. If I really have no idea where the show is going to go. I have no idea what stories that I want to tell, that come from me personally. Because I've learned this from Donald Trump too. Look at that guy on the campaign trail. He's not like that typical politician where they have everything. They sound so scripted. They sound like robots. It's annoying as hell. It's like, come on. But I guess I was kind of like this in college too, where when I gave my speeches, they were a lot more off the cuff than anyone else giving speeches. Everyone else would literally just read what they had. When you did a PowerPoint, a lot of people use a PowerPoint, as a crutch, and they would literally just read off the slides, So they were really boring presentations. I would really try to go off beyond that, and kind of the way I did the show before. It's like when you have the article in front of you and you kind of have your bullet points. It's like I was using that as a crutch. And so that affects the way the show is delivered when you're looking through it. Oh, crap, am I getting these bullet points right? You want to make your transitions can be slightly awkward-ish. It's not quite right because you're trying to oh, crap, I got to make sure I'm doing it all in this right order. I can't be bouncing around. No, I've thrown that all out the window. I want to be as spontaneous as hell. And actually, if I want to really improve the show, I want to take it to the next level like I plan on doing. You improve a lot. And like I said this, 2 episodes ago? Hell, I never remember anyway. Whenever the episode I was talking about how the people who grow the most are those who, work outside your comfort zone. Well, by doing a show where you literally have no idea what you're really going to be saying. I mean, yes, I have, like today's show. I want to talk a little bit about what happened with the Fed raising interest rates. Okay? But beyond that, I'm really not sure. Okay, I got maybe a few articles. Who knows? I might not even get to them. No idea. I'm not going to go by any sort of thing like, yep, this is what I got to do. No, who cares? We're going to go with what we have. And, if I feel that it's good, then it is good. It kind of sounds like something from the Bible, I think. But anyway, so I guess I just wanted to, so I really got that from one of the things that Dan Carlin said, just, speaking off the cuff. Because, people, they eat up that spontaneous sort of sound. Because, people don't like hearing things scripted. Look at how reality TV has taken off. Everything is reality TV, which reality TV, to a certain extent, yes, it's scripted. But they want to make it seem like it's not scripted. And then you see, oh man, when I was with my ex-girlfriend watching Basketball Wives and all that, all they do is fight and they're pulling hair. That was so, oh my gosh, those shows. I don't know how MTV does it. Or you got the teen mom shows out there. Gosh, I really don't get how some of these shows make the air. Or that, Honey Boo Boo, which I can't remember Honey Boo Boo. She all grown up now. They dropped that show, I think. I think the one guy was cheating on his wife, Sugar Mama, or whatever her name was. I never followed that show. I maybe watched 2 episodes. I really don't get it. I don't get why people are attracted to some of those shows. No idea. So apparently I'm a bad person to ask in regards to that sort of stuff. But anyway, I just want to make sure, for anyone out there, you guys like Dan Carlin. Maybe you haven't heard of Dan Carlin. You should go check out his show, and also go check out Jason Stapleton's show. He has a libertarian show, and he does a lot of great stuff, and he's had some good interviews too. And now in regards to what happened with the Federal Reserve on March 15th, I guess it's like, what is that? A Shakespeare play. Beware the Ides of March. Well, here we are, the middle of March. Well, beware of the Fed, because the Fed raised interest rates. And I'm pretty dang sure it was like in January of 2017 this year, where the experts were like, I'm serious. I remember this stat for some reason in my head. It was like there was an 8% probability that there would be a Fed rate hike in March. So nobody expected a rate hike in February until basically a week before it happened. Then people were like, okay, wait, this might happen. Actually, I think just a week before it was around 40%. Then it really shot up. But there was someone out there who kind of predicted what's been going on here with the Fed this year. And actually, I want to play a clip from my show. This is coming from, and it was the episode that came out December 20th of 2016, where it was the show I did right after the Fed raised rates back in December of 2016. That was the second time the Fed had raised rates in 10 years. And let me just play the clip right now. Let's play it. And with this rate hike, and since Trump won the election, I don't know. This could be just me. I'm just kind of getting a different vibe from Janet Yellen. I don't know. It seems to me like I think in 2017, Janet Yellen will be more aggressive with raising rates. Last year I said, okay, maybe the Fed will raise rates 1 time, maybe 2 times, But I think in 2017, the probability of the Fed raising rates 2 times, I think that's very probable. I don't think the Fed will raise rates 3 times, but I think 2 times is pretty dang likely. And now I say this, I don't know. I guess I was thinking, Janet Yellen, she is a Democrat, and I think the Fed was trying to be very accommodative to help the party in power, which was the Democrat Party with Obama, and they wanted Hillary Clinton to win the presidency, and so they wanted to be really easy. They didn't want to upset the apple cart, that sort of thing. But with Trump winning the election, and with the Republican Party with majorities in the Senate and the House, this is from a political point of view, this is a Republican/Trump economy now. And so if things happen under Janet Yellen's watch, well, no, just blame the Republicans. Blame Trump. And so this is what I was saying. I had a feeling that Janet Yellen, she was acting a lot different than she had before. Because if you guys go back to my show when I first started it, I was saying how, the Fed's not going to raise interest rates. Okay, if they did, like in 2015, they might raise it one time. And here they raised it in December of 2015. And then just like last year, in 2016, I had said back in July saying, okay, yeah, the Fed will probably raise rates in December. And so I was pretty much spot on there. But now here, I'm not saying this stuff like, oh yeah, look at me, look at me. All I'm pointing out is look at all the experts out there that were wrong, completely wrong on this. And even a lot of, sort of libertarian types. But the reason why I'm saying this is because of the change with what happened here. Here we had Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the shoo-in to be the 45th president of the United States. It didn't happen. We have Donald Trump. And so what the Fed is doing right now is they're getting giddy, is that they're more than willing now to raise interest rates. They're a lot more willing to do so because it's Donald Trump as president. And Donald Trump keeps claiming credit for the economy, like with all of his little tweets he sends out. It's like, oh yeah, look at all these great jobs numbers and look at all this. Was that just last week's show? I was pointing all that out, or was that 2 weeks ago? Anyway, here, look at this. I found this little 2 sentences here from an article from Fox Business by Susan O'Halloran. Now listen to this. After announcing the third rate hike in nearly a decade, economists now see a central bank that is ready to lead as opposed to following financial markets. And here we go to continue. This is a more confident Fed. Mohammed A. El-Rian, economic advisor at Allianz, tells Fox Business, now willing to go beyond data dependency and seeking a more balanced policy response. Okay, why is the Fed acting more confident? It's because the Fed is acting more political. Because they can now blame what's coming with the economy on Donald Trump, and it's not going to be Janet Yellen's fault. It's not going to be the Fed's fault. And it's a Republican who, Janet Yellen, she's a Democrat, right? Well, wouldn't you just like, especially if you want Democrats to win maybe in the midterms, so you can stop with this Republican control of Congress? If the economy kind of goes to the crapper, or at least isn't performing as well as it did, maybe Republicans will lose seats, right? Actually, right now, it's looking pretty bad for the Democrats out there in regards to these Senate races. Because a lot of the seats that are open, it's a lot more seats that are under Democrat control. So they have more to lose this upcoming 2 years. And so, for the Fed, I think that's really what it all comes down to, is they're just playing politics. Well, of course, the Fed's always playing politics. But it's if Hillary Clinton was president, I bet you the Federal Reserve would not have raised interest rates in March. I bet you they wouldn't have. Janet Yellen would act just how she did under the former President Obama. Where, the data's not really that great. The data's okay. Yeah, sure, unemployment's a little low, but there's still some slack in the economy. But here's the thing. There still is slack in the labor market. Well, there's still like 95 million Americans who aren't working. There's a lot of slack out there. And the Keynesian argument is, there's still plenty of slack, so we can take more inflation. Because right now, the core inflation rate is 1.7%. Okay, so it's still not meeting the Fed's 2% inflation target. And you guys remember on my show, and actually that episode I just played the little clip from December 20th of last year. It was that episode I'm pointing out, hey, here's some of these Fed governors. They're saying, hey, we actually wouldn't mind, sure, if inflation goes to 3% or 4%, it's okay. We probably need a little bit higher inflation that goes over the target. So here the Fed's acting like they're so concerned about inflation getting out of control. Are you kidding me? Really? And here's all the things too, like Janet Yellen stressing, and still the Fed just raised interest rates. And have we seen that there's actually going to be like a Trump fiscal stimulus that's going through right now? Does he have some sort of tax policy that's ready to be signed? No, there's no confirmation on any of that. Nothing is set in stone yet. They're still in the beginning stages of trying to make these bills. They're still in the process of trying to repeal Obamacare, but it's not really a repeal. It's just kind of shifting it so it's more of it's the Republican brand on government health care instead of the Democrat brand. It is amazing how these parties actually it's not that amazing. Everyone who's listening to the show, you guys know this too. These two parties act the same. They both are growing the size of government. They both love a big government. But the Republicans act like, oh, we just want a small government. We want the government out of your lives. No, you guys don't with Trump care. Keeping basically all the same horrible elements of Obamacare, you're keeping most of that in place. So don't tell me you're here trying to shrink the size of government. That is a bunch of bull. Then here Trump talks about a $1 trillion infrastructure spending bill. All the crumbling roads and bridges. That's what Obama was doing in 2009 with his jobs bill. This is so amazing. It's sickening. It really is. So with the Fed raising interest rates, so now the federal funds rate is between 0.75 and 1%. Okay, so it just moved up another 25 basis points. And like I said in that clip there, I was thinking that there's a really good chance this year, 2017, we'll see 2 Fed rate hikes. And here, it's March. We already got one. So a chance of another one before the year end, pretty dang good. So it seems like so far I'm pretty much spot on with that comment I made on that show all the way back in the middle of December of last year. And here it is, that was 3 months ago now. So I think a lot of people just really miss the boat when they're trying to analyze things. They're still trying to look at it the same, but it's completely different when we have a Trump presidency, a Republican as president who can take the blame instead of a Democrat. Because here Janet Yellen thought she was helping the Democrats keeping interest rates low, but all you're doing is you're just keeping the economy slugging along, But Janet Yellen, she's going to keep raising interest rates until she pricks this bubble. So here, for all of us who have been waiting for this crisis to come. Now wait, let me kind of clarify that a little bit. No, it's not like we're giddy and yes, we want this crisis to come. Like, oh yes, we can't wait for a collapse. No, not at all. What's coming is going to be horrible. I don't wish it upon anybody. But from the Austrian view of economics, what we have going on right now in this economy, we have so much malinvestment out there. People are investing in structures of production and building goods that people really don't demand, that they don't really want. But based on all these artificially low interest rates, we're not putting scarce resources to their most productive uses. I mean, we think we are, but once the bubble is pricked, that is when all these investments will be seen like, wait, uh-oh. That's when the losses will start rolling in. And then finally, at that point, when it's which seems as a horrible economic crisis, that's when resources can finally be shifted to their most productive uses. Otherwise, right now, you want to keep low interest rates, we can act like Japan for decades, just slugging along like a dang zombie, right? From The Walking Dead. That's what we were doing if we just keep interest rates low. As long as people don't lose faith in the system, as long as people keep trading in dollars, all that, then fine. The game can keep going. But Janet Yellen is going to prick the bubble. She's just going to keep raising interest rates because everything's all well and good as long as the easy money's flowing. But once it stops, that is when the day of reckoning comes. So we can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, or at least it just depends on how you view it. I just explained that. Of course, if there's some new listeners to the show here and they're looking at, wait a minute, and if you don't understand Austrian economics, it's going to sound like, yes, I can't wait for an economic crisis. No, not at all. But it's what needs to happen so we can so we can clear the market and we can start allocating resources to their most efficient and effective uses. So that's that's the Austrian take on it. And I guess I ended up pulling up here just some text from the FOMC statement that they released when they said they were going to raise interest rates. I don't know. I'm trying to see what I should read here. That the federal funds rate is likely to remain for some time below levels that are expected to prevail in the longer run. However, the actual path of the federal funds rate will depend on the economic outlook as informed by incoming data. And then look at they say some of these same statements over and over again in every single FOMC statement. Here it is. The committee is maintaining its existing policy of reinvesting principal payments from its holdings of agency debt and agency mortgage-backed securities in agency mortgage-backed securities and of rolling over maturing treasury securities at auction. And it anticipates doing so until normalization of the level of the federal funds rate is well underway. Okay, that's the same thing they say over and over again. And so what the Fed is saying right there, like you guys all know, the Fed is going to maintain that $4.5 trillion balance sheet that they have. They're not going to shrink it. until, as they said, the normalization of the federal funds rate is well underway. Well, what do they see as normalization? Obviously at 1%, we're still a long ways away from that. And guess what? The bubble is going to get pricked before we reach the quote unquote normalization of the federal funds rate. That's not going to happen. So the Fed will actually never shrink that balance sheet. It's going to actually have to grow it. Because once Janet Yellen pricks the bubble, the Federal Reserve is going to have to step in with QE4, because the last one was QE3 that ended a few years ago. But when they step in with QE4, it's going to have to be the biggest ever. They're going to have to add to that balance sheet so that they can try to quote unquote save the system. But at that point, how many people actually have lost faith in the system at that point? How will you save a sinking ship? So it seems like finally we can see that we are getting towards the end, and this crisis is finally, yes, it's been foggy, but it's coming into view with Janet Yellen continuing to raise interest rates. And this is so that you want to take some positive from it. Yes, absolutely. The Federal Reserve should have raised interest rates long ago. It's also the Austrian perspective that these artificially low interest rates for 8 years they've been near zero. You keep them that low for that long, which is the longest it's ever been that low. Hell, the Federal Reserve never had interest rates at zero before, right? But here, think of the misallocation of resources we have right now in the economy is so massive, but we don't see it yet. But we will see it, and that's why the episode I've talked about, a few episodes I've talked about, the auto crisis that's going to come. Well, once Janet Yellen pricks this bubble with the economy, all these dealerships and the car rental companies that rely on this auto loan debacle that's taking place, which is similar to what happened with the housing crisis, these subprime auto loans. Once all that collapses, there's going to be a bunch of cars flooding the market, and there's going to be a collapse in car values. That's why I'm saying, hold off buying new cars and that sort of thing. Principal amounts will get cheaper. So yeah, I'm not going to get into all that again. Just go back, listen to those old episodes, and you'll see there's something about the auto industry in the title. And I just want to end this episode with one more thing here. I found this to be rather interesting. I like to keep you guys up to date with what's going on over in Venezuela. I've told you guys how they're over there eating anteaters and flamingos and cats and dogs. So it's really bad over there. Well, now, get this. This is from the Miami Herald. Gosh dang it, I have most of the article here. But, okay, basically right here. Facing a bread shortage that is spawning massive lines and souring the national mood, the Venezuelan government is responding this week by detaining bakers and seizing establishments. In a press release, the National Superintendent for the Defense of Socioeconomic Rights said it had charged 4 people and temporarily seized 2 bakeries as the socialist administration accused bakers of being part of a broad economic war aimed at destabilizing the country. So there's a bread shortage taking place in Venezuela, and they're detaining bakers. Because, it says later on in the article here that the government says bakeries are only allowed to produce French bread and white loaves with government-imported flour. So these bakers are not using the government-imported flour, so they're in big trouble. And like this guy here, the price control czar, William Contreras, said only 90% of baked goods had to be price-controlled products. Okay, yeah. And it says here, later on in the article, 2 bakeries were also seized for 90 days for breaking a number of rules, including selling overpriced bread. Oh my gosh, God forbid. The government isn't importing enough wheat, he said. If you don't have wheat and if you don't have flour, you don't have bread. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty logical statement right there. And then finish off with this last few sentences here. Earlier this week, President Nicolas Maduro launched Plan 700 against what he called a bread war, ordering officials to do spot checks of bakeries nationwide. In the plan, the government said it would not allow people to stand in line for bread, but it's unclear how it might enforce the order. So of course, it's horrible to see people waiting in line. That's disgusting. So let's make it illegal to have breadlines. Oh yeah, that's a brilliant idea. They keep coming up with one brilliant idea after another over in Venezuela. And here, what did they say up there? That they have, this price control czar, They seized 2 bakeries because they were selling overpriced bread. Wait, for a lot of people out there who are economically illiterate, they'd be scratching their heads like, wait a minute. Don't people want to buy things as cheap as they can? So why would people overpay for bread? Huh? Well, if you actually want the product, sometimes you have to overpay. Sometimes you have to pay what the market will bear. But when you have price controls, when the government artificially sets the price too low, well, you have overwhelming demand. And that's why you get the breadlines. They're not letting the market function. Why should you, as a farmer, grow wheat if people can't make any money in the production process of turning, wheat into flour and flour into bread? Then you completely destroy the structure of production. Price controls are so destructive. And eventually when this crisis comes here to the United States, that's what the politicians are going to do. They're going to blame the businessmen for being greedy. They might seize bakeries. They might seize whatever establishments are selling these overpriced goods because they're seen as criminals. And instead of actually doing the proper thing and letting the free market function, they're going to step in with more and more controls, like what's happening over in Venezuela, making it illegal to stand in line for bread. That doesn't even, it's sick that people suffer like this. You know what's so sick about all this? Like what's going on in Venezuela where they're eating flamingos and anteaters. It's that it doesn't have to happen. It doesn't have to be this way. If people let a free market function, they wouldn't be eating flamingos. They wouldn't be eating anteaters. But if you want the government in control, if you want central planning to dominate, guess what? You will be eating flamingos. You will be eating anteaters. Instead of having you go to Hardee's, they got they like to advertise the Black Angus burgers and that sort of thing. Well, in Venezuela, if they have McDonald's over there, I'm sure they do. What do they have? Try our anteater burger instead of chicken nuggets, their flamingo nuggets, that sort of thing. So this sort of economically illiterate type of people, like what's going on over there in Venezuela with President Nicolas Maduro, is part of the reason why I started my show, my podcast, because so many people are totally economically illiterate. Like they'll agree with what's going on in Venezuela, or they won't even understand, like, wait, why is this happening? Why are there shortages? If you don't understand anything about economics, in general, you're going to be like, well, yeah, you just need the goods, right? You just got to deliver it. Well, but what's really the root of the problem? You can't just be attacking symptoms. You'll never fix the problem that way. That's why I think the Austrians provide so much value in all these sort of economic and political discussions, that they actually get to the root of the problem, explaining a lot of these things. And that's why it's so frustrating watching Democrats and Republicans fighting back and forth over things. Because like, say, building a wall. Trump wants to build this beautiful wall, this beautiful door, and Democrats, no, we don't want to pay for it. That's what are they going to have to, what government programs are we going to have to end so Trump can build this stupid wall? So that's the debate going back and forth. But why do you need to build the wall in the first place? Why, if you want to get to the root of the problem, why are Mexicans coming over here in the first place? That's what you have to address, and you got to answer that question. But no, they're not doing that. Let's just keep attacking symptoms. That is the wrong way to go. And so hopefully we can change that dialogue a little bit. And it seems like the libertarian movement, it's getting bigger and bigger. People in general are starting to understand more. Even the people who seem like they're so clueless, the socialists, but at least they're a little bit interested in kind of what's going on. We can get those people over to our side. I don't think they're as hard to convert as a lot of people think. But the first step is here. You got to educate yourself first. Once you are educated enough and you are able to discuss this stuff with somebody else, and you can convert people over. So it's a process, and we're going to get there. I'm confident in that. So anyway, guys, that is all I have for you guys today. Go to my website, go to justinmooreshow.com. More is spelled M-O-H-R. Catch up on old episodes there. If you could buy your Amazon goods through my little link there, or if you are not an Amazon Prime member yet, when you click on my Amazon link there, sign up for an Amazon Prime membership. Actually, I think they have a 30-day free trial. But if you do that, I get like a little commission back by you signing up through my link. That's a way to help me out by buying your goods through my little link. And I get a small commission back, costs you nothing extra, and that can help me expand the show, improve the show. I really want to improve the audio. Man, I hope to God I didn't butcher the audio on this episode. I want to make it a lot better. I want that crisper sound. So if you guys can help me out, I want to give you guys the best show I possibly can. And I can promise you guys this. The show is going to keep getting better and better. That is my personal promise to you. So if you guys can do that, or join Tom Wood's Liberty Classroom, make yourself a smarter libertarian. It's like $85. You get hundreds of hours of content oriented about history, that sort of stuff. I mean, so much great stuff out there. So if you guys could do that, and I'll be back here next week, and I'm looking forward to it. This is Justin Moore, signing off.